Thinking about it. All right. Hey, everybody. Happy Monday, and welcome to True Vi. This is our space for our collective followers to come and access quality, relevant travel information, content in a really laid back and fun setting for you. Let me start out today by introducing my co-hosts here. So first we have Beth Rowan down at the bottom from Tapestry Travel.
Hey guys.
We've got Chelsea McClintock from Anywhere Everywhere Travel. And of course, I am Emily Oz from Signpost Destinations. So guys, today we're going to be talking about what it's like to travel during COVID and beyond. We're going to be giving you guys some really interesting and really helpful tips and information today, some really good need to know information. So thank you guys so much for joining us, and let's kick it off. Let's get going, guys.
Hey guys, I'm going to kick it off. I'm going to start with our first little topic. We don't want to overwhelm you guys. The world of travel has changed, right? And we've talked about this. We were actually just talking about this, when 9/11 happened and the whole world changed and we didn't know what travel was going to look like. Well, it's once again making a huge transition. And so we don't want to overwhelm you guys. We don't want you to think like it's impossible to travel right now. We want to give you guys hope, but we want you to know the details of what is actually happening. So I'm going to take this little blurb. We're calling this thinking about going. So there's a lot of you that have maybe thought, I do want to travel in the year 2021, but I don't even know where to begin. This is kind of for you. So when you start thinking about going, first of all, we want you guys to understand that there's a lot of people out there that are traveling, and they're traveling successfully, and they're having a great time, just an awesome time. And we see it all the time because we're travel advisors. And so it's our job to know that travel is going well. But we want you guys to understand that there's so many things that you don't know, and that's okay. That's why we're here. That's why we're travel advisors, right? That's our job. It's not your job. So yes, you want to keep yourself informed. Yes, you want to know what the requirements are for wherever it is that your heart desires to go. Yes, it is ultimately your responsibility to know those things, but we are here to hold your hand, to walk you through it, to bring up those things that, you don't know what you don't know. That's what we've been saying, is there are so many things that you don't know to even ask the question about, right? And that's our job, is to know those things. So when you're looking at travel, we always recommend using a travel advisor because that is our job. But we also just want you to feel safe and confident that when you set foot out the door to go wherever it is that you're going, that you know from the start to the finish that you're going to be protected, that you're going to be as safe as possible, and that you have the perfect vacation, even though COVID is still a thing and the year 2020, we haven't quite figured out what's going to happen this year yet, but we want you to feel confident. So we just want you guys to understand that there's so many things that you don't know, but we want to hold your hand and help you with that. So on that note, where on earth can you go? This is a question that all three of us have gotten a lot of, right? And it's one of those, like, people are just kind of maybe dipping their toe in travel, and they're like, well, maybe I want to go somewhere warm, or maybe I want to travel, but I don't even think anything's open. Well, that's not true. There's actually a lot of places open, a lot of places that are willing to work with you as long as you're flexible on getting to wherever it is that you want to go. I actually have a crazy long list, but I'm going to kind of summarize for you guys. If there's a place that you're looking at, reach out to one of the three of us or to your travel advisor, and we can give you more details on that. But places like the Caribbean, the Bahamas, any of these beautiful islands, Jamaica, Mexico is open, Costa Rica, Ireland, we were just talking about. You do have to quarantine for 14 days, but I don't mind quarantining for 14 days in Ireland. Maybe you don't either.
Could be worse.
Exactly. I'll find you the perfect place to do your quarantine. But Mexico, there's places in Mexico that are doing an incredible job of handling everything that's going on, where you can go and you can feel safe and you can have that time to decompress after the year that we've had. Ecuador, the Dominican Republic, many places in Africa. Beth can talk more to this, but it's amazing the trips that you can take in Africa and other places where you're getting to experience these destinations like never before because they're so empty right now. And so taking advantage of this time and if you are comfortable traveling and saying, okay, I want to go here. What's required? Let me talk to my travel advisor and let's figure that out. So there's plenty of destinations for you to set your feet in and just enjoy the year 2021 and maybe start it or have something to look forward to in a completely different light than we did last year, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We are all planning on traveling this year. Like we're all going places. We all have things on the books, thankfully, which is super awesome. So. And one of my favorite places, the Keys. The Keys are open right now. So
they are open. I didn't mention that. I should have. That's Emily's specialty. So the Key, and they're doing really well with stuff down there. And I mean, all of these places, if they're open, there are places that we as travel advisors won't send you to.
Right.
That are open, that we know, not that we absolutely won't. If you're going to make it happen, you're going to make it happen. But we don't recommend them, because we don't want you guys to go and be unsafe and not feel comfortable and end up being stuck somewhere sick. So yeah, there's so many places that we are looking at that we've sent people to recently, that we feel comfortable with and we know how they're handling things. So
we are also really tied into, again, a lot of people in the industry. Travel advisors are very well aware that we need to help regain, people's trust and confidence. So travel advisors are traveling safely and successfully. And I talk to them, especially the ones that go to Africa, because I'm super jealous. But they're doing it successfully, and they're helping us understand how to help our clients do it successfully too. So there's people that I've traveled during the pandemic for various reasons. So one of the other things to think about too is one of the we don't know, as Chelsea said in the beginning, after 9/11, a bunch of things changed, and some of them stayed and some of them didn't. We don't know what's going to stay. What we do know is that there's a situation going on now that there's a real shift in supply and demand in the industry. And that never happened. I mean, it used to be we had, tons of cruise ships and more hotels going up all the time, but there's been a real shift. So the three major things that happen in the industry, one is you have all these people with future travel credits. They said, no, I still want to take that trip. I don't want my money back. And then there were some suppliers that didn't offer that. So they've already shifted all their plans into second, third, and fourth quarter of 21. So they've already booked it. It's done. They've taken up those places. Then you also have this situation where there's greatly reduced capacity in the world of tourism. They've had to reduce capacity for two reasons. One, to stay solvent. And the other thing is they've had to do that because there are worldwide restrictions on capacity in tourism. So there may be states here that are open, but there are parts of the world that will still have reduced capacity throughout this year. And we don't know for how long, because, the vaccine rollout is to get the whole world vaccinated is going to be long. And then on top of that, too, you have this pent up demand, right? People didn't take any paid time off. They didn't spend any money on travel. Most of us can't even go out to a restaurant, right? So what the trends that we see in the industry is that people want to use that money that they didn't spend on travel because they want experiences. They don't want to go out and buy a new car or a new washing machine. They want to go out and experience the world again because we've been stuck inside of our houses. So it's that part of it. I think the supply and demand is just something to be aware of. So, I've been telling clients, because I do work on an international level, that if you're thinking about going towards the end of the year, we should start talking about that now. We should start planning, seeing what's available, what's open, because I've talked to some of my people that I work with in Africa. They're booked. They're completely booked through 2021. So just keep that in mind. If you're thinking about traveling starting from July on, you should be talking about it now.
That's one of those really big changes, honestly. Before the pandemic, you could be like, I'm going to go for spring break right now, right? A year ago, you could be like, it's January. I want to go on spring break. I'm going to book something now. And that's one of the changes, one of the major changes that we've seen is that because of supply and demand, that that kind of time frame just isn't really possible. It's not probable you're going to find something. You really need to be thinking further out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think one of the other important things about when you're thinking about traveling is risk assessment. And that is really personal. We're talking about traveling. I think part of the reason that the three of us are comfortable and so many of our advisors are comfortable is not because we're like brave frontier people. It's more that we're so tied into the industry where we know who's doing it well, what companies are doing it well, there could be one part of a country that is doing it horribly or just has a high rate of infection, but another part has almost zero. And because we're tied in, I think that raises our confidence level. So it's super personal, and I don't think it should go away for this year. Even after the vaccine rolls out, it's okay if you don't want to travel. It's okay if you do want to travel. So I just think we have to be respectful and kind, but really pay attention to that risk assessment.
Right. So then once you guys are thinking about that, once you guys decide where your comfort level is, and then you decide that you're ready to travel, ready to book travel, ready to start planning travel, the next thing that we kind of want to address for you guys is talking about what that looks like. Once you make that decision, what comes next? So, there's a lot of requirements now, things that have changed. So I was thinking about this morning, like you pick your destination, but then what does that destination require? So if you want to go, we talked about Ireland earlier. You want to go to Ireland, what does that look like? Are they require testing? Are they going to require a vaccine? Do they require quarantine? Things like that. So you need to make sure that you are aware and up to date on those requirements. Also, they change almost daily for some places. Like it's constantly evolving situation. It's always changing, kind of flexing. And all three of us get emails and notifications several times throughout the day about all these different changes. We also had a conversation. One of Chelsea's clients is going to a destination, and she literally checks their website every single day to see what the requirements are going to be and what needs to happen for her clients to get there safely. So that is, a service that us as travel advisors provide to our clients, is keeping on top of that so that you guys can feel safe and you can travel confidently. The other thing that is becoming the darling of travel is travel insurance. It used to kind of be this thing where people would be like, oh yeah, I guess I'll throw some travel, it was just kind of like an afterthought. But now with just the state of things and the way that travel has changed, it's become a lot more important, more than ever before. It covers things. One of the terms I like to use is CYA, cover your butt. And travel insurance kind of does that for you. Travel insurance is that for you. It helps protect you for those unforeseen things and things that you just can't always see coming, and or not. There's just so many great things about it. And travel insurance is awesome. And honestly, some of the companies out there, the travel insurance companies, have really stepped up and done some really great improvements to their policies and their plans this year to make it even easier and just cover different things and cover things so that travelers feel better also when they're traveling. The other thing about when you guys are ready to travel that we want to note is that is to think about the different vendors and suppliers that are out there. For the three of us, we call them our travel partners. We want to make sure that you are choosing well, and that when you're working with us, that we're helping you choose places well, places that we trust, places that are ethical and exemplary, that we feel confident sending you to and connecting you with. Chelsea kind of alluded to this earlier too. We're not going to send you somewhere where they are just stacking people on top of each other in every single room in a hotel. That's not safe. That's not suggested right now. That's not CDC guidelines, things like that. If we know that that's going on, we're going to steer you in a different direction towards a hotel or resort or whatever the case may be that is going to be just better for you and help take care of you. When you are in the pre-planning stage, both the planning stage with us, we want to make sure that all of you are taken care of really well. And that when you guys get on that plane and you go somewhere, we want to make sure that wherever you go, that they're taking care of you, just like we would want to take care of you. Like, it's just that simple. I want to pass off my clients. I want to pass off my travelers somewhere where I know that they're going to be taken care of just as well as I would be taking care of them here. So.
And I think there's another part to that ethical piece too. There's a broader piece, and we watched. I had a lot of trips for my clients planned at the beginning of the year that I had to unwind because of the pandemic, so they had to cancel it. And not just me, but they're travel advisors with far more years and clients and experience than me. We're unwinding this, and so we see. Or we're able to see the companies that handle that well, that thought about the consumer, that thought about the customer, and this is an industry that's been devastated. It's 10% of the world's GDP. So the travel and tourism industry is not small. 1 out of every 10 people in the world work in this industry, and there have been companies that have stepped up and said, I get it that people are afraid. I get it that people are afraid that they're going to risk something. So they have reduced deposits. They have changed their cancellation time so that you can cancel it in much smaller windows. They have, made it so that it used to be that you had to pay, for some, especially some of the like really big cruises or safaris or whatever, that you had to pay very far in advance. And they've shortened those windows. So we know who those companies are. And, I've been really amazed, and it has really touched me to see some of these companies that I know how devastating it was to them, but still to make these changes. So we also want to connect you with people that are not going to put you and your hard-earned money at risk, but still give you the joy of planning something into the future. So
yeah, we've seen so many people that have lost their vacation deposits and money, their entire, whatever they paid for their vacation. Yeah, because some of these companies have gone bankrupt and are gone, and so all of that is, partners that we appreciate and we love, and they're ethically doing this, but also just making sure that you're protected with the amount of money that you put into your vacation. Because I do hear about people just, booking something online with a company that they don't know anything about. It makes a difference now. Before, maybe it didn't, but right now there are so many companies that might not be here at the end of this year. And that's awful and it's heartbreaking, but we also want to make sure that you're protected, and when it comes to that. So.
Yeah. So the next thing that we wanted to talk about is, what does it look like when you travel? So I think that's a big question, because we've all been sitting in our houses, right? We hear all these stories, and the two things that came to mind mostly for me is, one is, just know that it looks different. Just know it and accept it. I'm older than my two collaborators here, but I remember when we used to be able to kiss our loved ones goodbye at the airplane door. And 9/11 changed that, but it didn't. But we still travel, and we, when you think about it, it's not a bad thing, because now we know we're traveling more safely than we were before 9/11. So there's some positive things to it. And the second thing that I always think about, especially in times like this, is I choose to travel. So I'm not a frontline worker that gets scattered. I'm not a person that has to get on a plane and go someplace because my job sent me there. I choose to travel. So when I go through the airport experience, or through a hotel or a resort or whatever kind of experience, I look at all of those people as people that are helping me do this thing that I love in my life. I don't know. It helps me to sort of be a little kinder and a little bit more patient. So what does it look like? I have flown a few times. It differs from airport to airport, and it differs from airline to airline. So the airport thing, we don't really have control over. I use the example, I flew out to help a friend in Portland back in November, and I went from DC's Reagan Airport to a connecting flight in Dallas up to Portland, Oregon. And Reagan International Airport, which is a very old airport, I've never seen it so shiny. I took a picture of it. It was like you could see your reflection. It was shiny. Everybody was masked. Everybody was socially distancing. When I landed in Dallas, it had a very different feel to it. It's a bigger airport. It's a busier one. It's a big connecting one. So there were more people. There was some non-mask usage, and there was some non-social distancing. So just know that I was perfectly safe and was able to make myself feel comfortable. But again, just know that. But what I would tell you is, generally speaking, it feels relatively safe to travel. Most people are respectful. Most people are very cautious. So there's lots of social distancing in the, where you're sitting, waiting. They tell you, most of the airlines are coming out right up front before you board and telling you what to expect on the plane. So it didn't feel, it's a little jarring the first time that you go, but it really, in perspective, it's really not bad to travel. When you're on the airline, it really depends upon the airline. So if it's really important to you that nobody's sitting in your middle seat, choose the airlines that are guaranteeing you that. Most of the time, people are fully masked on most planes. I know that we've heard some horror stories, but when you think about how many planes are still taking off every day, it's really a small percentage. So remember that there's a news cycle out there that's looking for the bad stories. Unfortunately, that's the way our media works. But there are tons of good stories. They just don't get reported. One of the things that I try to tell anybody I know that's flying is that the service levels have changed. So if you're on a short haul flight, 2 hours or under, there is no beverage or food service. So if you're the kind of person like me who drinks tons of water, bring an empty water bottle with you, fill it up in the airport so that you have it on the plane, because you can't get anything. So just like, those are the kinds of things that just be aware of, because, knowledge is power, right? If I know I'm not going to get water on that plane, then I know what to do ahead of time. Like, I know, carry my water bottle, fill it up. What happens when you land? The hotels and the resorts, and I always recommend people try to stick to the ones that have good reputations and that have some of the bigger names. And the reason for that is they have more skin in the game, right? So some little place, if you can't validate that they're following the protocols right, just be hesitant about those. But the hotels and the resorts are being fantastic. The staff everywhere is required to wear a mask, so we don't get to share as many smiles, so look in the eyes. There are different requirements for people who are traveling, but generally, if you're sitting on a beach, sitting at a pool, in a restaurant, you don't have to wear a mask. It's like any place else. If you're outside, safe and socially distancing, you're fine. There is greatly reduced capacity at hotels and resorts. So everybody I know that's traveling to some of those places, they said socially distancing was easy, because nobody's there. You can get a chair. And then the other thing I think to know, and that's a place where we as travel advisors can help too, is know that not everything's open. So know your options. If you want to fly to XYZ city because your favorite restaurant in the whole world is there, and you're about to celebrate your 10th anniversary, make sure it's open. Make sure you can get a reservation. Like, we can help you with those things. Make sure that you know the hotel or resort, what kind of dining options are available. So again, when you travel now, I think the key is knowledge is power, right? Just know before you go.
Yeah. And we really are hearing incredible things about travel. It seems like every day you were a part of all these groups and message boards where we see, travel advisors that are traveling and their clients, they're sharing, great stories about things that are happening. My aunt and uncle are in Puerto Vallarta right now, so I'm keeping a close eye on what they're doing. So we're very acutely aware of everything that's happening for all of these people that are traveling. And it's been amazing to hear the stories of people coming out. And I think that the thing that we need to remember, you're talking about flexibility, is you're about as happy and as, joyful and excited about this vacation as you make up your mind to be. So, when you step foot out of your door to travel on this vacation, you need to understand that it's going to be different. It's gonna look different, but it happened before and we adjusted, and now we don't even think about taking our shoes off. Yeah, it's kind of like meh, but we do it anyways because we know we're gonna get to be able to go where we want to go. So it's the same thing right now. Wearing your mask, being respectful. There are amazing airlines that are taking unbelievable care of their clients. And we always suggest certain ones because we know that they're doing that. We know what that looks like. And there's certain airports that are doing the right thing. There's resorts that are doing the right thing. There's so many places out there that want to welcome you back with open arms. And it's awesome to see just how our minds have shifted in this entire thing, not only us as travelers, but these different resorts and these different airlines and all of these people are so happy to have you back. So your level of service has gone from, where it was, which was maybe great, but through the roof. They are so happy you're there. So if you want to travel in a time where you feel like a VIP without VIP breakfast, maybe this would be the time to go, because they really are just genuinely happy to be back to work, to welcome you, and to just hope to help you have the best vacation possible. Things are constantly changing. I know we've all said that, but we can't stress it enough. It really is a day-to-day thing. Like Emily said, I am checking every morning for these clients that are going to the Dominican Republic, because we just don't know, and we want to be on top of it. And you want to know the minute it happens versus, hours before you travel. So making sure that you guys are aware that things are constantly changing and adjust your attitude to go with that, right? You just have to learn to be flexible and excited about this. No matter what happens, it's going to be the least amount of pain possible for what is happening in the world. And, we're going to make sure that we help you through that.
And it's also one quick thing, Chelsea, it's also the changes are not all negative, right? Mm-hmm. So I spoke to a friend of mine who is a travel advisor who took a great group to Tanzania. And she said to me, Beth, I was sitting on the Serengeti and I looked 360 degrees and didn't see another safari vehicle. And she didn't have to say anything more to me, who's been there, who just knows how many vehicles you see around you, especially if there's an event happening. And to have the Serengeti to yourself ain't a bad thing, right? So it's not all like, restrictions, and it might be changing. The other quick point too to add is that, not to keep plugging travel advisors, but we can help with those changes, not just by notifying you, but if a country didn't have a testing restriction and they put it in, we have ways to get you good, solid PCR testing that can get back to you in a very short period of time. We have a way to solve your problems, not just to notify you that a change has happened.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I think that, like you said, there's so many great things happening for travel that I hope we do take into the future. Right. Maybe a little bit smaller, like travel numbers and different resorts and things. So you do have the ability to get a seat whenever you want it. And maybe flights aren't going to be as packed. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that one. But I think that there's a lot of really good things happening. But you just have to have that mindset that you're going to be flexible and you're going to be happy and you're going to be ready to travel no matter what comes at you. And having somebody that you can, hold hands with to go through that, makes it a little bit easier to have that mindset. So,
Chelsea, you were talking about like the positive changes and the changes that have come where from like a hospitality standpoint, but also health and safety. Like that's something that I've been hearing from some of our connections, some of the people that we know at these locations at resorts where yes, they've had to make these changes for the health and cleaning safety standards, but chances are pretty good that they're going to stay there for a while, if not indefinitely, which is so nice. Like I'm a little bit of a clean freak. I really like things neat and clean. So knowing that when I go to the Keys in a couple months, that those hotels have like this new level of clean, that makes me so happy. And like, I love that it's not just some like, okay, it's done. Like now it's just like, just the standard is so much better, which makes me happy.
I think at the end of the day, traveling now, it probably always should have been this way, but traveling now is, little bit of flexibility, a lot of patience, throw in some kindness, and then wrap it all up in the joy of traveling. And I mean, it just is the way it is. And I think that there are some really positive changes that are going to come out. Like you said, Emily, some of these health and safety standards are never going to go away. Masks may at some point in time, but the level of cleanliness, they've adopted this permanently. The HEPA filters that have been installed everywhere are never going away.
Yeah, like TSA, right? Like we got TSA and the way that you go through the airport for 9/11, these new health and safety standards are going to be something that's going to stick around because of the pandemic, a positive thing that has come out of this pandemic and how it's affected the travel industry. I think overall, really,
the first time I traveled during the pandemic, I think I freaked the TSA people out in Logan Airport, because everyone I talked to, I'm like, I've missed you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so glad to put my bag on this. And they're all like, do it
down. Coming through.
Like there was no TSA before 9/11, or if it was, it wasn't the TSA we know now. But I was like, I love you guys.
Thank you so much.
I know, I'm excited because I go to Disney next weekend. I'm so excited. And the first time we went to Disney, we all got the stomach bug. So I don't know if we picked it up while we were there or what, but we got the stomach bug while we were there. And I never want to see the inside of an Art of Animation suite again. Like, we were in there and we were sick for 6 days. So I say all of that because now I'm like, I don't have those same concerns about my room. I cannot wait. I've been looking at all the different rooms and our room specifically that we're going to stay in and what that looks like. And in every room, there's a plaque that shows you all of the touch points, everything that they've cleaned. The remote has a plastic bag over it that shows it's been sanitized. The handles, the bathroom, the bed covering, every single thing is touched and sprayed down and cleaned. And I've never felt more confident going into a hotel room. Right. And even in the parks, talking not necessarily to make this about Disney, but this is one prime example. There are people in the parks on Main Street, USA, wiping down telephone poles or the light poles because they know that toddlers are touching the light poles when they walk by. So they're wiping them all the way down and sanitizing them. I'm like, that is a level that unless this had happened, never would have even been thought about, And so it's like, there's some really amazing things happening, to keep us all safer in the long run. And I'm super excited about it.
Right. I think overall, really what we want people to take from today is that to consider the fact that this is kind of like a rebirth of travel. 9/11 changed travel, so is this pandemic. And now we're all kind of navigating like this new frontier, and there's just so many new things, and we want you guys to embrace it. We don't want you guys to be scared. We don't want you guys to not travel, because travel is essential to our health and sanity. If you really think about it, it really truly is something that not just us, because we're super passionate about travel, but honestly, all people need to experience places in the world, and they need to have that time with their loved ones, and travel is such a great opportunity to have that. So we don't want you guys to be scared. We want you guys to be informed. We want you guys to be just ready to go and get back to a place where you are excited to travel again. We want you guys to go and feel confident going, and that you guys have somebody in your corner that's going to help you do it and help you do it well. So anybody else have any more thoughts?
I've been saying from the beginning, having planning something for me in the future is just, represents hope and joy to me. It's like, if I don't have that, the world can feel a little darker and heavier. And when I have that, if I'm planning a trip for September of 21, that means I think the world is going to be in a good place in September of 21. So it represents a real level of hope and joy for me, and the planning as much as the going.
Right? Yeah. Oh, one thing we didn't mention, guys, is if anybody has any questions that's watching this live, or if you're watching the replay, feel free to pop them in right now, because we got a couple of things before we end it. But I just wanted to let you guys know, any questions, even if you're watching this later and you have questions about what travel looks like, whether it's a flight or booking or different places you can go, we would be happy to answer them.
Any concerns, send them on over. Questions, concerns, let us know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, if there's something we didn't address and you want us to, we love to chat.
Yeah. Yeah. True. So last week we introduced, guys, our Where in the World segment, and that's something that we're going to continue to do going forward. Last week we talked about, we've been talking about all of our other weeks that I'm like confused on where we are in our schedule here. Last week was our first week, and I gave the example of my hometown, which is Ann Arbor, Michigan, and showed a picture. And then, so we just wanted to kind of address this week's Where in the World, and we'll give you guys a little bit of information to look forward for next week as well. So
these the beginning Where in the World was supposed to be part of a little introduction to us. So Emily did hers for where she lives, and I did mine for where I live. You can put it up.
There you go.
So this, I happen to live in Washington, D.C., and coincidentally, we all posted this picture Wednesday morning, never knowing what was going to happen. I'm going to address the elephant in the room by telling you I'm not going to address the elephant in the room. Because we've all seen all the negative images. We don't need to have any more of them. But that specific picture is the halls of the Senate, of the Capitol, and it is, you can't really see it here. I mean, you can get the magnificence, but it is one of the most gorgeous places. It is painted from the floor over the ceilings and back down. All the flora and fauna of the mid-Atlantic. I mean, it's just breathtaking. And the public typically does not have access to those halls, but there is one way you can get access that is completely legal. And if anybody wants to know more, just reach out and I can tell you how to do that when the Capitol opens back up again, because it's been closed throughout the pandemic. But there's another picture I posted as a hint, but I just wanted to put this. This is one of my favorite places in DC. This is the U.S. Capitol Botanic Gardens, and this is my little place where I go. It's beautiful and gorgeous. It's not heavily trafficked and well-known. It's right on the Capitol grounds, what they call the Capitol campus. So it's like a 3-minute walk down the hill from the building itself. But my favorite time to go there is when it's snowing outside because most of it's glass, but it's really magnificent. So, a lot of you have been to DC, and if anybody has any interest, I know it well. I love it. And so that was our Where in the World. Oh, and by the way, to my sister-in-law, yes, you were correct.
Good job. And then for next week, guys, we will, our next location is already picked out. So be on the lookout. Today is Monday. We will each be releasing that image for you guys to start guessing and inquiring on. We will release that on Wednesday for you guys out on our social media channels. So keep looking for that. Do you guys have anything else? If not, I can throw up our contact information. Here is our contact for you guys. So Beth works for Tapestry Travel. She's in Washington, D.C. And Chelsea McClintock at Anywhere, Everywhere Travel. She is down in Nashville. I was at Nashville, right?
Yep.
And I'm Emily Oz at Signpost Destinations up here in cold and snowy Michigan.
I got snow today, though. So
I think you have more snow than I do right now. I'm dreaming of a beach, though. But
Oh yeah, we all are. Everybody is, right?
Yeah. Right. Just quiet. A good book, a handsome man giving me a drink with an umbrella, I'd be happy.
Right. Well, we're going to do stuff for you guys next week too. So make sure you guys come back next week. We're going to be back on Monday at 12:30 again. Mondays, 12:30. So that's where we're going to stick with that for now. If anything changes, you'll know where to find us. But guys, stay in touch. Make sure that you guys are following all of our pages. We're all on Instagram and Facebook. We post all sorts of cool things. Beth, you posted both of you. Your social game is awesome. You guys have posted some cool pictures. Both of you have been teasing me with really beautiful beach pictures, and it's just like making this terrible winter blues so much worse. But
make it better though to have that little dream, like as you're scrolling, it's like, okay, just let me take a moment to have a deep breath here.
It's so beautiful
for my eyeballs. Yeah.
Right. But that's where we are, guys. Like, we just really want to inspire you guys, get some travel inspiration, get those wheels turning, and get you guys dreaming again about travel. So make sure you guys join us over there and join us next week. And again, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out via email or on social, and we will see you guys next week. So
yeah, have a great week, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.